Hey everyone, welcome to Weekly Word. I'm Jonathan Hatt. Today I want to talk about facing mountains. Now we've all faced difficult situations in our lives. I don't care who you are. There's good days and there's bad days. There's situations, especially in our lives, sometimes we face that are especially difficult, that are very challenging, and you're not sure how you can get through them. I want to look at something the writer says in Hebrews 11:29-34 about such things. And he gives us some examples from the Old Testament. And let's just look at that now. Hebrews 11:29-34. It says, "By faith the people passed through the Red Sea as on dry land, but when the Egyptians tried to do so, they were drowned. By faith the walls of Jericho fell, after the army had marched around them for 7 days. By faith, the prostitute Rahab, because she welcomed the spies, was not killed with those who were disobedient. And what more shall I say? I do not have time to tell about Gideon, Barak, Samson, and Jephthah, about David and Samuel and the prophets, who through faith conquered kingdoms, administered justice, and gained what was promised, who shut the mouths of the lion, quenched the fury of the flames, and escaped the edge of the sword, whose weakness was turned to strength, and who became powerful in battle and routed foreign armies." So he gives a bunch of examples from back in the day about faith through God's people and how they faced impossible situations. Going to the Red Sea, coming up against the sea, that's impossible. There's an army behind them, a sea in front of them. There's no way that they could get through that on their own. Daniel in the lion's den and the walls of Jericho, all these situations, they couldn't fix them on their own. But what I want to focus on isn't so much what God did through those situations and how God parted the sea and took down the walls of Jericho and shut the mouths of lions, but the fact that God allowed them to be there, that God allowed them to face that impossible situation. God brought them to that place to strengthen their faith. They probably didn't see it at the time when they went to the Red Sea and marching around Jericho. They're probably thinking, how are we going to get through this? But God says, listen, you're here for a reason. And we have to keep that in mind, that we have to rely on God, that God uses these situations to strengthen our faith in Him. I remember at a church I used to work at, there was this godly man. He was a great guy. He was kind of my guy I would go to if you needed things fixed or things done, or you needed a chaperone at a youth rally or whatever it was. He was a great man of God. But I remember him telling me his testimony a bit. He said, I have always served God from a very young age, always went to Sunday school, always went to church, but he said, I never needed God. He said, as an adult, he said, if I needed something built, I built it. If I needed something fixed, I fixed it. If I needed more money, I would just pick up extra jobs. He said, anything I needed to do, I took care of it. Until his son went missing. He went out west, got mixed up into a bunch of drugs, into a horrible situation. And he said it was the first time in his life where he couldn't fix a situation on his own. And up until that point, he said, if I needed to fix a situation, I fixed it. But for the first time in his life, he actually needed God, or he realized he actually needed God, because there was a situation, impossible situation he couldn't fix. And he said it was hard. It was humbling because he couldn't do it on his own. He needed God. And he said we prayed and we fasted and we trusted God. And God took care of that situation, that impossible situation, and brought it around for His good. Now sometimes when we face impossible situations, we forget who brought us there and how God uses that and how God uses those situations to turn our lives around. Where He uses them to draw us closer to Him, where we say, Lord, I can't do this on my own. I need more of You. And God says, finally, you have to trust Me. Stop trying to do things on your own and trust Me to get you through it. When we get to that place where we truly trust God and lean into Him and His understanding and not our own, and His power and not our own, God really gets to work. And God will work in you and through you. And when you do that, people around you will see that. So I don't know where you're at. I don't know what situations you're facing. I don't know what struggles you're in. But whatever they are, trust that God can get you through it. No matter how big or how small it is, God can use that to demonstrate in your life who He is and the lives of others. So I challenge you this week to really focus on Him. Focus on drawing closer to Him in the midst of all your struggles. Where it doesn't matter how crazy the storm is around you. You focus on Him and trust in Him, and nothing else matters. And when you get there, God will bless you. God will use those situations to draw you closer and strengthen your faith in Him.
Let our voices rise.